Okay, hey guys, so now all of my first Kaiser Chevauleger figures are done. Finished the second squadron last night. These are 15 millimeter Alternative Armies miniatures. I think they turned out pretty good. I think I got the basing mix right, so it's a good mix of the flock and the sand. These are the heavy dragoon figures, but as I said in my previous video, I don't notice a huge difference. There's some slight size differences between the two, but yeah, I can't really tell a huge difference. And in the Austrian Army of 1809, they don't really have heavy and light dragoons as two different things. So they are the Kaiser Franz Chevauleger that were present at the Battle of Rajin in 1809. Yeah, I think they look pretty good. Overall, I did a black Vallejo primer, brush primer undercoat on all of them, just to try that out, because lately I've been priming in gray, but I think that did give a good kind of definition to them, so I didn't have to really do a wash coat. I did do a Agrax Earthshade on the horses to cover them, but I left the riders without that. I didn't want them to turn into little dark blobs. For the whites, I used this Vallejo white gray just to give them kind of a, like they've been out in the field. Apparently these were like the parade uniforms, I guess. And in the campaign they would have had like gray pants over top their boots. Kind of wish they had sculpted them with the field uniform, but whatever. Anyway, yeah, I didn't do any work on the banner because my idea is once I can get to a printer, I'm gonna like maybe make some very little decals with printer paper and just glue them on there. Yeah, so I did touch up from the first squadron to starting on this one. I did touch up a bit because John from Jack Sarge Painting sent me some helpful color plates that showed the sheepskin on these saddles better, so I touched those up, and I went back to the first squad and I redid those. And then I also managed to actually paint the canteen straps on these guys, however imperfectly. So I think that little detail actually made them pop out just a little bit more. But yeah, now I've got two cavalry squadrons for the Austrians, or I guess I could even run it as one big cavalry unit maybe. And then I did go with, I had a few left over. Now I considered two like heavy dragoon figures left over, and I did consider just mounting like two on the command base for this one unit to give them to fill out another full base of 3 cavalry troopers, but I decided not to do that. I just went ahead and filled it out for nine figures each. I'm gonna be playing, ideally, if I can actually get a game organized at some point, I am gonna be fielding 9 with playing this with General d'Armée 2, and the rules for those rules, the frontage is not super strict, but I felt like this was a decent kind of frontage for them, 40 millimeter for each base. Yeah, and then eventually I probably will buy a handful more of these heavy dragoons and just build out another unit when I get the inclination and the money. And then I do have some of these extras from the command pack, so I painted just these guys as, still gotta do the basing on this one, but I just painted these guys as aide-de-camps for GDA2 rules. This guy I just kind of made up a uniform, but you know, because the ADCs in General to Army too, it's more like a token kind of anyway, rather than a real unit miniature on the battlefield. And then this guy I did with the regimental colors. They're trumpeters, but yeah, you know, just something extra to paint, something extra to do. You know, I know on Miniatures page and elsewhere, a lot of people complain about the scaling between different manufacturers, or, you know, bring it up for 15 millimeter. Like I've said before, I don't really see it as a huge deal. I mean, there are slight differences, and I was looking at one blog and someone said, well, if you take a 20% difference in size between miniatures, that would mean that, you know, the one manufacturer's figures would be 7 feet tall in real life compared to 5 feet in, you know, from the other. But if that kind of thing is of interest to you, this is comparing some of my Fire and Sword Crimean Tatars to these guys. Obviously the Tatars are a little bit bigger, you know, the horses and the riders, but you know, on a gaming table, I really wouldn't be able to tell that much. You know, so, but if that's something that is a concern, you know, this is how these figures scale with another brand of 15s. So, whoops. So that's there. Yeah, so I think they turned out pretty well. I did order from the Old Glory 15s range some Saxons, because the Polish army at Rajin had a Saxon battalion, so I ordered some Saxon Grenadiers. I'm not sure how I'm going to divide those, because the pack comes with 50 plus 4 sets of command, or it may be 50 including 4 sets of command, which is 4 miniatures each. So I'll have to check when I get those. They're still processing my order. I hope they ship it soon. But I have to think about how I want to base those up and organize them, because that I do have to kind of organize them, because I need to paint them into as specific units that were present. One of the Grenadier battalion brigades was made up of 2 different units, so what I will probably do to represent them and also make sure I can use these figures for other scenarios is take part of those, you know, just paint 2 different units with 2 different color facings to represent that brigade that was at Rajin, I think, or the, you know, those Grenadiers, instead of mixing them together somehow. Yeah, I think that would be best. I have to read up on the terminology again to make sure I'm getting it right, because yeah, brigade is like the lowest, at least for figures at this scale, I think. Yeah. Anyway, so because the one Grenadier brigade or regiment at Rajin, like I said, it was not a true, it was an ad hoc formation with grenadiers from 2 different infantry regiments. So, and someone on the miniatures page has the quote from the John Gill Thunder on the Danube book that says what units they were from. I have to find that post again just to check so I can get the facings right. But the good thing is, I was thinking about this more, because I did get that 7 Years War rule book. If I buy these Saxons, that would also be kind of like a backdoor to doing 7 Years' War, both as like as actual Saxons, but then if I just wanted to, you know, use them to fill out a 7 Years' War army, probably I'll do Russians, so I can do Russo-Turkish War, at least at first, for the those wars in the 18th century. And then to play those rules, what I might do is just use these Chevauleger. Obviously, they're not period correct, but just to use them as cavalry, just to run those rules, the Honors of War rules published by Osprey that I reviewed recently. And then, you know, kind of use these guys as command figures, which, again, they're not period correct for that, but I just to play the rules and try them out. And I'll use my Ottomans as the other side, and just use one of the other. Probably for them, I'll probably use either the Holy Roman Empire army rules, or like maybe the Bavarians or something. One of the more minor powers, just because in the 18th century, Ottoman, especially like by the time later 18th century, I should say, their military performance was not as good as it had been, although they did perform quite well in the earlier 18th. Excuse me. And they did retake Belgrade in 1730, and then they did fight quite well against the Austrian and Russian coalition in 1739-40, but yeah, anyway, that's kind of a tangent. Yeah, so I think they look pretty good. Yeah, I think these are nice figures. You know, they're all one piece also, if that's a selling point. I did kind of like that. I didn't have to you don't even have to glue the rider to the horse. They're all cast as one piece, and you can get right to it. Yeah, as soon as I get those Saxons in, I'll do like an unboxing and review them. They're Old Glory 15s. Saxons, and then I can hopefully we'll be able to get painting on those soon. Yeah, so appreciate you guys watching the channel and supporting, and I will talk to you all in the next video.